Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. In an interview on YouTube, comic book icon and legend Tom King seemed to confirm that James Gunn will not only be writing Superman Legacy, but will be directing it. That video over on YouTube is now on private. So every site and everyone on the internet seems to believe that this is confirmation that James Gunn is actually directing the picture. Now, I don't know. I can't find anything from James Gunn on Twitter. He may have confirmed whether he's doing this or not. I tagged him himself. No reply. He doesn't reply to me anymore. I think I upset him a long time ago. Oh, sorry, James. That's life. I've got a big gob. I upset people. That's what I'm here to do with my opinions. It's all about opinions. We've been talking all day on social media about opinions and people having the right to state their opinions. But anyway, we don't know if this is true, but Tom King is, one of the people conferring and consulting with James Gunn on DC Universe. He's, consulting with other screenwriters and other comic book talented writers. I've been saying for the past 10, 15 years that, any comic book franchise or movie should have comic book writers involved. I've been talking about a comic book writer writing wholeheartedly a CBM. We saw this happen with Wonder Woman 2017. Alan Heinberg co-writ Wonder Woman 2017 with Zack Snyder. Look what happened. That film is as close to having the wonder and the beauty of Superman the movie we've ever had in a CBM. And this was done by Zack Snyder and Alan Heinberg, a Wonder Woman comic book writer. It worked. In fact, if I just want to say something about that film, I believe Patty Jenkins should be removed as director of the first Wonder Woman movie. And she should be replaced as director by Zack Snyder. It should say directed by Zack Snyder. But at the very least, that film should say co-written by Zack Snyder, which it does, but directed by Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder at the very least. And that's my hot take of the day. It pretty much is his film, whether you like him or not, and it's one of the best CBMs ever made. So, basically, Tom King would know if James Gunn is writing and directing Superman Legacy. So, for argument's sake, let's just say Tom King is correct. Now, he was asked a few questions on there. He said, I have to be careful what I say. So he knows what's going on with this movie and DC Universe. He's working with James Gunn, as are other comic book writers and screenwriters. So it is looking at this moment in time that James Gunn will direct Superman Legacy. But comment down below, what do you think of that decision? It makes logical sense for someone like Gunn, who can write and direct, to write and direct Superman Legacy. It's his name on the studio, along with Peter Safran. So when your name's on something, you don't want any problems or any mistakes. James Gunn knows his own vision. But my only problem here is that I believe you need more than James Gunn to sell this movie and to sell this new universe, because there is fatigue with CBMs like right now, because we're just fed up of bargain basement, lazy, crappy CBMs. But according to James Gunn, he's fed up with boring, crappy CBMs as well, to be fair to him. He's mentioned this before. But my question has always been, I know he's a good, maybe even a great writer, but has he got the technical ability as a director to do the kind of cinematography that Zack Snyder gave us in Man of Steel, in BVS, in the Snyder Cut? The answer is no. The solution to that problem is that Gunn will try and bring one of the best cinematographers to Superman Legacy to make up for what he lacks. Now, George Lucas didn't direct Return of the Jedi. He brought on a Welsh director. George ended up being on set and on location all the time, because the director he chose had not much knowledge in VFX. We are talking about the 80s after all. And he did want Steven Spielberg, but unfortunately, because he left the Writers Guild, and I think the Directors Guild as well, he wasn't able to do that. So, James Gunn doesn't want those kind of problems, because what happens is, James Gunn has already written the movie anyway. If he brings on another director, he's going to get phone calls every 5 minutes. What do I do here? What do I do there? What do you want for this? And it becomes somewhat problematic. So I can understand why James Gunn wants to write and also direct this movie as well. But as I say, does he have the technical ability? Also, a Superman movie could have done with a Peter Jackson or a Jim Cameron or someone like that, or a Steven Spielberg, which was rumoured before, because it excites fans. You need a director, first of all, a famous director who's willing to direct somebody else's movie and script. Now, of course, Cameron, Spielberg, and Jackson are big egos. They are going to give you their opinion, and maybe this is something that James Gunn doesn't want. But what is David Zaslav thinking right now? You know, it was a great opportunity to have a Spielberg or a Cameron or a Jackson directing James Gunn's written Superman movie. And you have to ask a deeper question here. Would it have been better for Superman just to be an Elseworld movie where it's actually done by someone like Spielberg, Cameron, and Jackson? Jackson would have written and directed it. Cameron would have written it and directed it. And now Cameron hasn't really got the time to do anything else but Avatar. I get it. I'm just giving you a few examples. WB is a debt-ridden company, and their new DC universe will be launched with Superman Legacy. So I believe they needed a bigger name than James Gunn. Despite what the fanboys and girls and everybody else, no matter how you identify as, think, James Gunn isn't Coppola, isn't Spielberg. He's a very capable director. Again, I must remind the pie eaters at the back that I am not anti-James Gunn. I'm just being pragmatic. Superman Legacy is the launch pad for DC Universe. Now, my concerns may come to nothing. James Gunn may write and direct a wonderful Superman movie, and I'm sure he will. Now, I'm sure WB and Zaslav and James Gunn and Safran are not happy how this was revealed, because as I say, it was revealed in a podcast, in an interview with Tom King on YouTube. And as I also said, it's now been put on private. So I would hold my horses on this right now. I don't think this is confirmation that James Gunn is directing Superman Legacy quite yet. But it's looking like it's very, very close, pretty obvious that he is directing Superman Legacy. As I say, I would have rather a very big superstar director make this film with James Gunn. And I think that would have really launched it. Written by James Gunn and directed by Peter Jackson. Imagine that. Or Denis Villeneuve, or someone who has the technical ability. Now, like it or not, or lump it if you like, James Gunn doesn't have the technical ability of Peter Jackson. Look at his Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. The cinematography is stunning. James Gunn doesn't have that technical ability. Whether you like that or not, these are the facts. This is not me going after James Gunn. I like James Gunn. I'm happy he's running DC Universe with Peter Safran, and I look forward to the results of that marriage, and let's hope that marriage doesn't end up in a divorce. I'm being pragmatic here. James Gunn has limitations, and that's the problem with him directing this movie, because let's be absolutely clear here. Zack Snyder did something very special visually with Man of Steel. Whether you like the story of that movie or not, it looks stunning. The VFX looks light years ahead of anything we've seen ever since then. And he's going to be compared visually with Zack Snyder. And here's the facts. He cannot compete with Zack Snyder. So if he does anything that geek culture believe is bad VFX or it's, problematic, he's going to be compared to Zack Snyder. And, this movie has to go off without a hitch. If this movie doesn't succeed, if this movie doesn't succeed critically and doesn't get the metrics that it needs to get, basically DC Universe has failed before it started. And that would be a big issue. So I have, let's say, concerns of James Gunn directing Superman Legacy. I will keep you apprised of the situation. These things can change all the time. He still may not direct Superman Legacy because anything's possible in this game. But at this moment in time, Tom King seems to have confirmed that James Gunn is directing Superman Legacy. Now let's talk about Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This time next week, very exciting. It will be in cinemas nationwide, globally, all over the world. You're going to see it, I'm going to see it, I'm going to review it, first of all with a non-spoiler review. Probably expect that maybe next weekend sometime. I'll definitely have it up for you by basically Monday week at the latest. So basically there's been a little kind of trailer TV spot that again teases Wonder Woman. Now David F. Sandberg has come onto Twitter to say there's lots of spoilers going around for the movie. If you don't want to know anything else, you shouldn't be online. And I quote tweeted him and said, listen, David, basically there's been spoilers for this movie for over a year. It's been ridiculous. Blame the previous leadership for that. But projections for this movie, as we keep on talking about, have been extremely low. So of course, they're trying to tease Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. They are desperate. Let me ask them this question. What did The Rock winking about Superman being in Black Adam do for Black Adam? Jack shit. Nada. Zilch. It didn't work. So why are they trying the same tactics all over again? Zachary Levi's and David F. Sandberg's Shazam! Fury of the Gods is going to make whatever it's going to make. I'm convinced that reviews will be more positive than Black Adam was. I think like the reactions when the embargo on social media lifted were very, very good. So I expect this movie to be reviewed quite well. I don't think it's going to be wholeheartedly loved by the critical kind of community, but I think most of all, I think people are going to like it. I think audiences are going to like it. I don't think there's an issue there, but David F. Sandberg saying on Twitter to someone, if it makes people go and watch the movie, I am happy. And that's the reason you're talking about it, David. That's why Wonder Woman has been leaked on one of the TV spots, because you're all very, very concerned about the box office of this movie and your futures, because your version of Shazam hasn't got any chance of anything in the future of DC Universe. Now, personally, I think that's a good thing. Now, I like Zachary Levi. I loved the first Shazam. I loved David F. Sandberg. I would love this film to be really successful. I don't mind it being a part of, the new franchise. But I do think that maybe give Shazam a rest for now after this movie. And I do feel maybe go with something new and something that James Gunn wants to do himself. Basically, I love Zachary Levi, especially as Chuck, but he's not Shazam. And we need to move on from all of this. The DCEU made so many mistakes. I believe James Gunn can make the right decisions. I think he's making a lot of good decisions, and I'm excited to see how these decisions work out. Now, let's stick with James Gunn, because this is interesting. Now, there's been a lot of controversy over a black actor playing a character that's white in the comics on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The actor playing this role is the same black actor who was in Peacemaker. Because I can't pronounce his name, I'm not going to disrespect the name by trying to pronounce it, but you know who I mean. He was the leader of the group that Peacemaker first joins. If James Gunn is quite happy to kind of culturally nerf a character from Marvel Comics, he's obviously going to be happy to do it with DC Universe. I've warned you before. He is a progressive. He is a liberal. He is woke. There's no question about that. James Gunn is woke. Now, this means that, as I've warned you about the Superman casting before, we may not get a white actor as Superman. He could be Asian, Latino, black. Anything's possible here. And, you know, this is the problem with these people. This is what they will do. So, you know, I'm sure they understand the pitfalls of doing this. And let me be clear about this as well. Every time someone or a group of fans, us, complain about, a racially bended character in a film, we're called racist. Well, let me give you a comparison. I'm talking to the black members of my audience here. If it was announced that Axel Foley and Beverly Hills Cop were getting a reboot and a white actor was being cast as Axel Foley, how would you feel? Exactly. Would you be racist for speaking out about a white guy playing Axel Foley? In a sane, logical world, no. But if you're calling us racist because a black dude or an Asian dude is playing Superman, then we can call you out as racist for being angry that Axel Foley would be played by a white man. As far as I know, Axel Foley will not be played by a white man. Never gonna happen. Because that never happens the other way around. Because that's called whitewashing. This is the hypocrisy of the extreme left. Now, James Gunn, when he was questioned by Marvel fans about this casting, said, I chose the best actor for the job, and it's nothing to do with him being black. I call bullshit. The actor he's cast is very good. He was very good in Peacemaker, but was he the best actor for the job? Of course not. He's a friend of James Gunn's, he's black, he got the job. I say things as they are, and this is the problem. There's plenty of Hispanic black characters in Marvel and in DC that you could give roles in these movies. But no, they want to replace white characters with minority characters and, women and things like this. This is where this community comes from. And this is why I call them extremists. This is very, very problematic behavior. And if he's willing to do it on Guardians Volume 3, he's willing to do it on DC Universe. And this, my friends, is a red flag on James Gunn's and Peter Safran's leadership on DC Universe. But here's the problem they've got with DC. They can't be affording to be doing this shit. And the question is, will David Zaslav allow this? I shouldn't think so. He did shelve a Batgirl project with a black Batgirl and her best mate being gender neutral or whatever she was, right? So I think that's one of the reasons, one of many reasons why that movie was shelved. So I don't think that Zaslav will allow them to cast kind of a minority lead as Superman or one of these characters. But it will be interesting because comic book writers like Tom King, who he's consulting with James Gunn, is very woke as well. Doesn't mean I hate him. Doesn't mean I don't like his writings. It just means he's very, very, very left-leaning. So what I'm doing here, as I keep on telling you, I'm trying to inform you of what's going on. I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm trying to speak the truth and give you my opinions on that truth. Now, you may have heard of a game called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It should have been released. It was going to be released. Now it's being delayed again. Now, it may even be delayed by Rocksteady, the game developers, till next year. Now, why I want to talk about this is because James Gunn has teased as part of the DC universe, it's going to be about movies in movie theatres, streaming shows on streaming, and gaming, forwarding one story. And some people, and I think on one of my lives as well, people said that gaming isn't an exact science, and you can't necessarily get games delivered when movies or just after movies are released. And this situation shows it. Now, I'm assuming that Rocksteady won't be working on James Gunn's games because, look, apparently some people inside are saying they never wanted to make this game and they're not that passionate about that game. But here's the thing, Rocksteady. You got the contract to make this game, so you damn well make it. People have been excited about this game. Now, the reason it's been delayed, I think they like test screenings. I think people have test played it and people haven't been happy with it. So I think it's back to the drawing board. But again, my point of talking about this is if they can't get a simple standalone DC game out, what hope have they got in getting like a multiple amount of games for movies that are going to be part of DC Universe, for streaming shows? And don't forget, these games will be echoing this one story arc that James Gunn will be forwarding in the new DC Universe. So if you say they're released on a certain date, you have to do it. But the problem is, as I said, gaming isn't an exact science, and that's where the problem is really for me. And this is a concern of mine, really. This is when he announced gaming as part of this universe, I was excited because I think that could be a really good thing. We've been crying out for a Superman game, for example, for years. But if you're going to do this, you've got to give the contracts to people who can do it. Now, I know there's WB Games, but they're going to have to get the best people involved, because people don't want to hear that, oh, a film's just come out. And here's another issue. By the way, I'm going to interrupt my own words, right? But here's another thing. Just imagine if a game can't be released at the same time as Superman Legacy is released, for example. Just giving you an example, not saying there's going to be a game to accompany Superman Legacy. What if they have to delay Superman Legacy because the game developers haven't got their act together? We may not see Superman Legacy till 2027 at that stage. So on paper, what James Gunn and Peter Safran want to do is very exciting and very ambitious. But, there are many issues with it. So I think there are red flags with what's going on with Rocksteady's Suicide to Kill the Justice League. It's a game I've been excited about. I'm always excited about DC-themed games. But it just shows you with the, postponement of the upcoming release of this game, what problems they're going to have having games coming out for specific dates. And if you don't give specific dates, that's a problem. If Superman Legacy comes out and you have to wait 3 to 6 months for a Superman Legacy game to accompany that, let me tell you, the hype is over. Because what I've noticed with films, let me give you an example. This time last week, everyone was hyping Creed 3. Now, nobody's talking about Creed 3. They're talking about the latest Scream movie, right? So people are very fickle. Audiences today are very fickle. I mean, we were talking about Fatal Attraction for 6 months from the moment it was released. But audiences today are fickle. When one movie's released, oh my God, best thing ever. Latest thing is the best thing, right? The next week, you're talking about something else. So you can't make people wait 3 to 6 months for a Superman Legacy game. It must accompany the damn movie. And is that even possible? Now, I'm not an expert on game developers and how games are developed, but I do know from people and my friends who work in that industry, it's not an exact science. So, yes, there's lots of problems with this going forward. And, if, for example, they say on a later date, oh, we're not going to do the gaming thing anymore because we realised that, it wouldn't work. But you announced it. You got people excited. And this is the problem with the industry today. They want to walk before they can run. The truth of the matter is, I'm excited about DC Universe, but I've spoken about this before. I'm more excited about the standalone Elseworld movies. Because me and many members of the audiences are fed up of branding and franchises. Brands and franchises are for businesses, not for people like you and me. That, we just want to see great damn movies, right? We want to hear a great tune. We want to see a great cartoon. We want to see the best episode of our favourite TV shows. We don't care about brands, IPs, and franchises. But unfortunately, fans are so obsessed with these brands and IPs rather than caring about what they're consuming. Oh, the latest episode of The Last of Us. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. It's better than Lost. It's better than The Walking Dead. Of course, it's not. It's bullshit. But people just overreact because they're supporting brands. It's become like sports, spectator sports now. What I support is better than what you support. And this is what happened with the DCEU and the MCU as well. It's not about the content you get. And that is the problem. And, you know, brands have taken over entertainment. And I don't like it. Because when you support one brand, you have to support everything and you become biased. So when you get a shit DCEU film or a DC Universe film, you have to support it because you support that brand. And that's the problem. And this is why you get a lack of honesty and genuine opinion these days from fans. It's like the Scream fans. Oh my God, this is better than what Wes Craven did. You understand how bad that sounds? No one will ever better what Wes Craven did, either with the first Scream or the first Nightmare on Elm Street. But these people will say fucking anything because they're waving the flag. And this is the problem we have today. I judge a film on a film. When I watched the DCEU film, I judged it on its merits. I judged Man of Steel on its merits. I loved it. Same with BVS. I loved it. The first Suicide Squad, I actually enjoyed a film. It was nothing to do with it being a DCEU movie. Same with Wonder Woman, one of the best CBMs ever made. Justice League was a disgrace. I lived in denial for a little bit, but in the end, I had to come clean and say, this is fucking despicable. Release the Snyder Cut. I loved Aquaman, not because it was a part of the DCEU, because I loved Aquaman. I enjoyed Shazam. It's not one of my favourite CBMs, but I enjoyed it. And then the quality went down with Birds of Prey. Now, Suicide Squad, from James Gunn, is a very good film. Actually, this is my final piece of thing that I want to talk about today, because I nearly forgot. And now I've forgotten his name. Isn't that so unprofessional? So it's the guy who plays Luthor. It's the guy who played Bloodsport in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Idris Elba. Thank God I remembered that. I've only got a few more minutes to go to this video. Anyway, so let's go. Let's do this. So Idris Elba has been speaking about his DC Universe future. Now, he was asked if he'd want to make a Bloodsport movie. He said he would be interested in doing that, but he believes realistically James Gunn will be making the Suicide Squad 3, and he believes Bloodsport will be a big part of the future on DC Universe. This excites me. Some people are moaning, oh, James Gunn just using his same people, why wouldn't he? Oh, James Gunn using his Suicide Squad universe, why wouldn't he? It's his fucking universe. Basically, it wouldn't surprise me if you knew what was going on when he was writing and directing The Suicide Squad. What I may do is actually rewatch The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and treat that as the first two chapters of this brand new DC universe. Because let's be honest about this. Basically, they were always a part of DC Universe, and James Gunn denies this, but I believe he had foreknowledge that things were going on at WB. There was going to be a merger, and I think once they took him on, they were probably trying to, bring him on to run it. Look, he was asked the questions at the time. He denied that he wanted the fake job or the Walter Hamada job, but hey, you're not going to tell the truth when other people have taken, basically took a risk on you when you've been cancelled by society and fired by Disney. So he had to be respectful, right? So, yeah, I always saw the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker as part of a new era of DC. And now it's going to be part of DC Universe. So I don't know about you. Comment, let me know. What do you think? Are you excited about there being a Suicide Squad 3 by James Gunn and Idris Elba's Bloodsport being in that movie? Personally, this excites me. I'll tell you why. First of all, I love the Suicide Squad. I think it's a great movie. But in that movie, we found out that Bloodsport was in jail for shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet. James Gunn said it wasn't necessarily Henry Cavill's Superman. He actually said, I don't know what the studio are doing with Superman, so it could be any Superman. Use your imagination. Could it be, via this new Superman Legacy, that we actually see Idris Elba in Superman Legacy shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet? Could that be a thing? Could this be readdressed in the Suicide Squad 3? So I'm happy about this. I'm excited about James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Universe. Make no mistake about that. But I do have my queries and I do have my issues with it. For example, the fact that James Gunn has race-bended someone on Guardians Volume 3. I'm well within my rights to have queries and problems with that and being worried that he could do the same thing with DC Universe. But in terms of Idris Elba, who I absolutely love, and I loved his Bloodsport and was very excited about him being involved in the Suicide Squad. So, yes, I can't wait for Suicide Squad 3. I can't wait for Superman Legacy. Let's get started. Next week, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. We're getting the Flash movie. Apparently, the best movie since The Dark Knight. I don't really believe that. We'll wait and see to see what we get there. And we got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But before that, we got Blue Beetle as well. So basically, it's just so cool and so exciting to be a DC fan. Whether you hate the stuff or love the shit, there's always something to talk about. This has been Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so you don't ever miss this perfection. Hit that notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.